Alright, boom. Let's do this. Magical girls.
Wait, really? You're never this excited to talk about magical girls.
This isn't just any magical girl, but I think you should also know I'm an android.
Wait, what?
Also, my father was murdered.
But you just talked to him yesterday
And now I must seek revenge for him.
Wait, hold on. I thought you were going to tell me about the first magical girl transformation.
Oh, right, about that. Honey Flash!
Oh my god, what is happening?
We are the MahouShowGirls. My name is Kayla.
And my name is Britney.
Kayla likes history.
And Britney likes sparkle dasu.
Are you ready for some magic? 'Cause this is the end of our song. Deal with it.
What has been seen cannot be unseen.
Oh, come on, quit being so dramatic.
But you were...
Well, I told you last time we were going to look at the first instance of a transformation in a magical girl anime.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember that. I just didn't realize that you would be...
Whatever. Anyways, welcome back everyone. We're the MahouShowGirls, and this time we're going to talk about a different kind of magical girl.
I don't know if I'm gonna like this magical girl.
You'll like her fine. With a name like Cutie Honey, how could you not like her?
That is a pretty cute name. It's like super adorable and feminine. I bet a really cute girl came up with the character.
Bzz, wrong. It was a manga artist named Go Nagai, and he's a dude. Cutie Honey debuted from 1973 to 1974 as a manga, both written and illustrated by Go Nagai. The manga was shown in a popular weekly manga magazine called Weekly Shonen Champion. The magazine featured other prominent people such as Osamu Tezuka and Masumi Karumade, the creator behind Saint Seiya. Cutie Honey is noteworthy for being the first magical transformation, changing her identity depending on the situation. Nagai credits the inspiration for Cutie Honey being some of his favorite TV shows that featured protagonists who changed their identities and forms, such as Benai Taro Mysteries and the Warrior of Love, Rainbow Man.
This is one of the most notable series to have a lot of different renditions. While the other magical girl animes do have their own retellings, Cutie Honey is perhaps one of the more interesting ones in our opinions. It has the 1970s version and a newer 1990s version, with the manga following closely to those time frames. It has a live-action adaptation with a TV show and a few movies. There was even a new movie as recent as October 2016.
The interesting point about Cutie Honey is that it wasn't marketed to girls specifically. Originally, Nagai categorized it as a sci-fi anime, and it ran in a shonen magazine, which is aimed more towards boys. When the anime was picked up by Toei Animation, they wanted to originally put it in a time slot previously held by a magical girl anime. Because of this, they toned down the violence, gross humor, and lesbian undertones. However, the time slot went to another anime, and Cutie Honey was pushed into a spot next to a shonen series. They had to add in the action and nudity they cut to appeal to the male audience. In this respect, Cutie Honey is the first female protagonist of a shonen series.
So, wait a second. Not only was this character with a super cutesy name not created by a woman, it wasn't even made to be marketed to girls?
Well, I mean, it was marketed to anyone who likes sci-fi.
Alright, let me get this straight. So, first it was the sci-fi genre, but now it's obviously marketed as a magical girl anime. So then, please, do tell. What was it about this story that made people think that young boys would want to have anything to do with it?
Well, the story revolves around Honey Kisaragi, just an average Catholic schoolgirl who attends St. Chapel School for Girls. Everything is normal and awesome until one day her father is murdered by the Panther Claw organization. After his death, she learns she's actually an android created by him. Inside her is a unique device that can create matter from air. With the cry of, "Honey Flash!" She can use the device to transform from a blonde-haired Catholic girl into a red-haired, sword-wielding superhero named Cutie Honey.
As she continues attending school, she seeks revenge against the Panther Claw. The Panther Claw is ruled by an ancient evil known as Panther Zora and her younger sibling, Sister Jill. Zora wants the rarest items in the world and therefore wants the device inside Honey. However, Jill only wants the finest riches and has a crush on Honey. Honey's best friends at school, Aki, Natcha, and Natsuko, also has a crush on Honey. Actually, a lot of students had a crush on Honey. I'm pretty sure everyone has a crush on Honey. In her quest for revenge, Honey gets help from Danbei Hayami and his two sons, journalist Seiji and Junpei.
The manga and anime follow a pretty similar path. The only real difference is that in the anime, she's a goofy student who pranks her teachers Alphone and Miharu. Miharu is often annoyed, but Alphone is attracted to Honey, so she lets a lot slide. In the anime version, Honey is still helped by the Hayami family. However, Seiji discovers Honey's secret and is her love interest. So you see, it had a lot going for it in terms of appealing to the boys. There was the gross humor and action to keep them entertained, not to mention her transformation.
You don't mean because she's...
Probably. And are you gonna do that every time? It's kind of creeping me out.
I don't know what you're talking about. But, okay, sure, she's got a transformation? I don't really want to call it that. I guess that's something we can tick off. What else does she have we can check off the board?
Actually, where is the board?
I kind of lost it in my pocket subspace and now I can't get it back out.
Oh, thank God. I thought we were gonna have to.
Wait, here it is.
Oh, okay. Alright, okay, let's see what we can check off. She's a young girl, not necessarily prepubescent, but she's definitely adolescent. She's still in school. Catholic school.
She's got sort of a team, I guess. They're not a team in the sense of like Sailor Moon or Pretty Cure, where it's a group of all girls with magic powers, but they are like sidekicks, and they do help her out on her adventures.
Then, of course, is the transformation. She has multiple transformations too. Her main one is Cutie Honey, but she transforms according to the situation. There's Hurricane Honey, a tough biker, Misty Honey, a singer who uses her microphone as a weapon, Idol Honey, who's a flight stewardess, Flash Honey, a camera woman who blinds her foes with the camera's flash, and Fancy Honey, a model who uses a long stick cigar as a weapon.
And then there's that short and sweet catchphrase, Honey Flash! She also tends to monologue about being a warrior of love before she lays the beat down on the bad guys.
So see, she is a magical girl. She checks a lot more on her board than Sally the Witch or Princess Knight did.
Alright, well, I'm definitely starting to see where you're coming from, even though she does get... She actually is a pretty decent representation of a magical girl. And I have to admit, after watching the show, it was pretty interesting.
Right? Especially considering that besides Japan, the only other country to air the original Cutie Honey was France. And that didn't happen until 1988. Which makes it pretty interesting with how easy it was to find the original Cutie Honey episodes compared to Sally the Witch. And let me tell you, that was a challenge.
But that's not all, folks. So, Cutie Honey.
Oh boy, was it cute. As in, stylistically.
Yeah, no, I would say it was groovy.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't really hold up in time. Like, if you watch the show, you can clearly see it's from the 70s. Like, it's very heavy.
Such a product of its time. We talked last time about being, like you said that you thought of Scooby-Doo when you watched Sally the Witch. This made me think of Scooby-Doo, like, hardcore.
Yeah, like, it's got that cool, groovy 70s music that they play, the style.
She's wearing the little go-go dress with the boots.
Yeah, like, her outfits kind of resemble, like, the
big bell-bottoms, yeah.
Like, her what is it, her Idol Honey?
Yeah, it was Misty Honey, the idol form.
And then she's got, like, the stewardess dress. Yeah, like, it's really 70s from everything.
Which, it's kind of one of those things, starting out watching it, it was entertaining at first, but it got old really quickly.
Yeah, because
the only thing that I didn't get sick of was the music.
Yeah.
It's so groovy.
That I would say that while it looks very much from the 70s, which I appreciate, like I'm okay with that. That didn't bore me. The kind of ideas and thoughts of the time were really boring.
Yeah.
Like they kind of have some of the negative looks that we had from the times, like the Indians.
Oh yeah, the Indians and
Like cowboys and Indian kind of thing that happens, and
yeah, there was some politically incorrect stuff that would probably be frowned upon nowadays. Although that might also just be Japan, because I noticed that they do kind of portray certain things that are maybe more taboo in the West. And it's okay.
yeah, but I would say that the women are really nice too, like because the 70s was kind of the rise of like women's power, and most of the
True.
female characters in there are pretty like into their own thing, like
Very strong female characters.
which was really nice, especially because usually we have like the whole cast of like maybe one female character strong and the rest are kind of weak and pathetic, but no, all the characters were like strong and like, no, we gotta do shit.
Which, did you think about it, like every single villain was a female. Like only the minion panther claws were actually male, and they were like, they just got their butts handed to them every episode by Honey. It was always the female, like, you know, top villain that always was the one that gave her more trouble.
And fun, interesting note for me, much like Princess Knight, our protagonist's love interest is pretty useless. Like he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, his father and brother do more than he does. Like he's quite bland. He's not as bland as Prince what's his name, who's so bland I can't even remember.
Prince Frank.
Thank you. He's not as bland as Prince Frank, but he's definitely still kind of getting there where he's just there to be the love interest, which is interesting considering it's targeted to boys.
But then on the flip side, kind of like what ran the problem with Princess Knight for us is it just dragged on. Like
this one wasn't as long as Princess Knight.
Yeah.
There's only 25 episodes, which is good, but the last 5 or 6 episodes I was starting to kind of skip through it because I was like, okay, we've seen this before, it's the same thing. Honey changes form, they're in like a new area, like she does her like, you know, fighting, revealing herself, fighting like whatever villain of the day, but
yeah, like there was really interesting things that happened around episode 14, 15 that were just like kind of really intense.
it was like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah, and then like afterwards they're like, okay, well, these really intense things happened and now let's do nothing with them.
Yeah, and even the climax of this series, I mean, I'm not going to spoil it because, you know, we want you guys to go out and watch this, but
it doesn't feel like a climax.
yeah, nothing, like, I mean, like, sure, some things happen that you kind of expect to happen in a climax, but I felt really unsatisfied. I was so unsatisfied that I went and I looked, I was like, is this really the last episode? And they're like, yeah, this is the last episode of the series. Like, they didn't do any more until they did more Rage Magic. I was like, what?
Yeah, so I don't know what they were thinking, because she came up to me and she's like, you're never going to believe the last episode, like, you have to watch it, and I watched it, it's like, oh, I see what she was talking about, like, I would expect this for a season finale with another season to come afterwards.
That's why I was like, there's got to be more episodes, but there weren't, so I was like, cool, whatever.
Yeah, that episode, but so yeah, after a while it became formulaic. And you just didn't care anymore, like, for me, like, the villains weren't that interesting. I mean, they were interesting in the sense of, oh, they're all women and they're all, like, kind of weird tropes on claw. Like, because the organization is Panther Claw, so they all have, like, claw in the name somewhere.
It was funny at first to see the different, like, things they could come up with, but yeah, it got old after a while. It was like, yeah, they're just pulling the same thing over and over and over and over, which, I mean, it's a TV series, so I guess that's usual. But there just wasn't really much progression with the plot.
Yeah, it was just the same stuff all the time. That said, I do want to note some of my favorite of the claws. So the two that stuck out to me the most was Puman Claw?
Puman Claw?
And actually the last villain that we see for Eagle Claw.
Oh!
I guess those are the two, like, anthropomorphic ones, because the rest are a little bit more humanoid, but those
Nah, dude, I remember breast claw. What are you talking about?
Oh, right.
Breast claw.
If you want to watch the show for anything, just go find the episode with breast claw.
You've probably actually already seen her if you follow Tumblr, because that's I first recognized. I was like, I saw this character on Tumblr, because there was a post where she was going around, and I was like, what is this from? And now I know.
Yep. Oh, breast claw.
私そう情報知らなかった。知ってる。え、だって。
ネックレスのハートに手を当てろ。
こう？
ハニーフラッシュと叫べ。
一体何のこと？
いいから早く叫べ。
いいわ。ハニーフラッシュ。
So next topic is the change of marketing schemes, because as we've discussed before, the Magical Girls were marketed, of course, to the girls. Sally the Witch was specifically a shoujo manga/anime, and Princess Knight, you know, probably was more heavily leaning towards a female audience. But Cutie Honey was marketed to a male audience, and from the show you could really see that. There is lesbian undertones, actually overtly stated in the show, but it's not as
it's apparently not as strong as it is in the manga, because in the anime it's just the one teacher, Alphonse Sensei, that's like super attracted to Honey, whereas in the manga apparently it's the teacher and the best friend and also the main villain. So you don't really get that, because definitely the main villain is just, you know, she's got her one track set. She just wants her wealth and jewels and to kill Honey.
So
and the device that's inside Honey, and then her friend it's just a friend that they don't really play up any.
Her schoolmates aren't actually really well developed. Nat-chan is slightly developed, like you kind of, in the sense that you see her with Nat-chan a lot, but there's not really a lot of characterization there. And of course there is a lot of violence, like every episode.
That was such a huge surprise.
Like from what we saw, there was just every episode was like she was fighting a claws, she was doing something, and usually there was blood. Like the blood was of course in the 70s style of the show to fit it, so it was kind of a muted like pink color.
And they changed colors depending on the villain, because some of them had like weird colored blood.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is to say, like, if you're used to like somebody being killed but doing it like off screen, like Honey legit like stabs each villain in some way, or like I think one of them fell into lava. Or it's just it's pretty fascinating, because like, you know, you don't see this kind of violence.
Yeah, like if you're comparing it to even like older, like we go with Princess Knight or newer Sailor Moon, even the 90s version, when they fight you get like the scuff marks, or maybe they're kind of like
they're kind of like wincing, like
no, they're straight up bleeding and like
there's limbs being cut off. Like some of the ones that like have extending, like, you know, maybe she's got like a snake for a hand, like she'll chop that freaking thing off, and she's just walking around with this bleeding stump, and you're like, holy crap!
Not only that, but and we don't want to spoil anything, but spoiler alert, there is some I would consider major character deaths in the series, and you're just like, I was not expecting this, which is again pleasant and nice, because for me that's kind of what I'm into. Like I want a little bit more of a realistic anime, so that was pleasant. But
it didn't bother me, coming from somebody who likes super cutesy anime. Like I've watched Monica, so this is nothing.
I mean, it's still pretty subdued. Like it's not going to be, you know, hostile or anything gory, but it's definitely different from the norm. And then, that nudity.
Yeah, which
I want to preference this before you start, because I know you want to talk about it. There's a lot of panty shots.
Oh yeah, they do panty shots all the time. Not even from just Honey.
Yeah, there's panty shots from like jokes from the teachers, because the teachers are not traditionally beautiful, so they're like, it's so ugly.
And what's the deal with Alphonse Sensei? Like, anytime she's talking to Honey and being like, oh Honey, I love you, she's always like groping her breasts like really weirdly. Like you're like, what is the point?
Like, do you understand that this isn't how lesbians work? Like,
that's kind of weird.
But yeah, so there's a lot of panty shots, and not No, and there's a lot of people commenting on like,
Yeah.
oh, look, there's a panty shot. And
Also, Honey doesn't wear a bra? Like, how the hell is she going around doing all these flips without a bra? Excuse me?
Very 70s, by the way.
Yeah, I guess so. And her clothes are always getting ripped off and various things. And she's a strong character, so, you know, she doesn't, like, usually always take it lightly. Like, sometimes she'll blush or she'll slap them and be like, icky or hentai or something like that. But it's something that, because I've watched Kill la Kill, I can see how they were, the people who did that might have been inspired by this. Because when I watch Kill la Kill, I get that feeling that even though they're drawing them to be kind of sexy or maybe sexualized, people don't really like, and Kayla said she doesn't agree with me on this, but this is just something I noticed. People don't really like focus on it, kind of like we're used to in Western animation. Let me be a little more specific. So in Western animation, you always have the two complete opposites. You have, if it's for kids, then it's pretty much taboo. You're not going to talk about nudity. You really rarely see that. But then if you have an adult cartoon, then if somebody gets naked, then it's just the butt of the joke. Like, that's all they talk about. If it's a woman, they're just really focused on it. Like, it's just, it's always targeted and made as sexualized.
And hold on, we're talking about the women being naked,
yes,
not
anyone
anyone
else.
Not
anyone else. Sorry. But then I feel like Cutie Honey and, like, you know, sometimes Japanese media in general is kind of that weird middle gray space between the two, where Cutie Honey is targeted towards, I'm assuming, teenage boys. So they're getting naked, as in like Honey, because Honey is the only one that really ever gets naked. But even though the characters do comment upon it and they're like, oh, you're naked, and all the boys are always like, oh, Honey, you're so beautiful, and they're kind of being like lusty after her, nobody else really comments on it all that much. Like, you know, they'll notice it, they'll point it out, but like they don't like always focus hardcore on it. So that was just an interesting thing I noticed.
Yeah. Like I said, I disagree. I think it's kind of on the same vein of they're focusing on it, and to a lesser extent later on in the series as we kind of like stop caring about the nudity and the changing part. But for me, it's still about the same focus.
You know, it's whatever, but I'm actually curious, like,
yeah,
who do you agree with? Like, which one of us do you think, you know,
might be closer? Or are we both wrong?
Yeah, I mean, share
totally wrong.
Share your opinions on nudity in media. We're so curious to know.
We're only slightly, a little bit of a pervert. Tiny perverts.
Hentai.
ちょっとエッチ。
ようこそファイヤークロ。私の名を知っているお前は誰だ？ファッションモデルのファンシーハニー。またある時は花形レーサーハリケーンハニー。そしてもう一つの顔は病院に救ったルンペンハニー。だがその実態は愛の剣士キューティーハニーさ。ほい、ファイヤークロ。
Cool. So the last thing that we're going to focus on is our board, basically. How does Honey fit in with our magical girl, or just the show in general? Which, first things first, she's an adolescent girl.
Yep. I mean, that's
it. Chip, cut that off. All right, that was easy. Moving on.
She attends Catholic school with a bunch of other students, and at one point she goes to a different school with some other students, so she's definitely...
She's still pretty young, like, right. Which is weird because of course she's not drawn that way. In that same vein of like Sailor Moon characters, it's really like gray area about how old these students are. So
yeah, but at least in Honey's case, they never outright say I think that she's a middle school student. So in my head, I picture her as a high school student,
which doesn't make it any better. No. But she's at least a little older-ish, maybe. I don't know, but yeah.
So moving on from that, let's talk about her team. So her team consists of the Hayami family.
Yep, and none of them are magical, so basically... Well, except for Junpei. Junpei and his whole, I'm the warrior of love.
You wouldn't believe how many times this kid said, I'm the warrior of love, in this entire show. Like, I feel like he must have said it once every episode he was in.
Yeah, I have to say that I'm pretty sure that... I mean, you know, it's probably not true, but the whole, I know Senshi, Sailor Moon. because Cutie Honey says, I know Senshi, Cutie Honey sa, all the time. So, you know, you can see this in Larry's. But anyways, though, sorry. You said Junpei. I think that Danbei, the father, his freaking ninja skills shocked me the first time because I was like, oh yeah, this is the gross old man. He's just gonna be like the hentai pervert and he's just gonna be along for the ride and get captured. But then he holds his own. I was really shocked. The only one that kind of sucks is Seiji.
Her love interest, which
he can fight, yeah, but he gets captured a lot.
There's a really cool episode, I think, later on where he gets possessed and he actually kind of gets some cool points for a while because he does some pretty rad things, but for the most part...
he's a gangster, he's got like a gun and he's shooting.
Yeah, but for the most part, Seiji, I don't care about you. Like, I love the episodes with Junpei and Danbei as her sidekicks. So,
yeah, they're pretty funny.
Like, they're so good. Like...
And also, I think it's, again, they're played more for the comedic relief. Like, Seiji's just there to be the love interest, whereas Danbei and Junpei are definitely there to be, like, the funny, like, the young, mischievous boy who's lusting after Honey, and then the old, perverted man who's also lusting after Honey.
But at the same time, like, they kind of understand their place in the anime.
Yeah.
And they're just like, okay, obviously Seiji's the main love interest, so we're not going to focus solely on us.
And the nice thing is they do have it, like, a very true, like... you know, caring for Honey, because the times when it looks like she's dead or like injured, like they get really, really sad.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, they're not just there to be, you know, the comedic or the lusty men. They are there to be a legitimate family for her, which I think is kind of nice.
Yeah, and then I'd even argue that she's kind of got her other team, as in her two teachers.
Oh yeah.
They're more in the first half where they're kind of around her, like she uses them to her own benefit, but at the same time, like throughout the episode, you can kind of see that they care a little bit. Like there's certain moments that are really nice about them. So I would argue that they act as like a secondary team for her.
Yeah, just a little bit, less so, more of just kind of there for comedic effect. So, but they were enjoyable. Sometimes I liked their antics a little bit more than
Yeah.
But anyways, on to the thing that you all are waiting for, the magical transformation.
Oh yes. So what I like about her magical transformation is that she does it multiple times in the episode, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Sailor Moon and like anyone's beautiful transformation where they do like, oh, and they touch their hair and a clip appears. I love that. I'm all for that. But at the same time, I love Honey's practicality of like, let me backflip, transform, and then kick your ass.
Well, I mean, it's less practicality because her clothes are ripping off her body and reforming. So I wonder if she gets cold.
I think she's fine.
But yeah, like it's like that for every single transformation too. I mean, I understand like why it's that way because of like the idea of how the machine in her body is supposed to work, because I don't know if he explained it very well, but the whole idea is that she's got this machine built into her body because she's an android, and it's supposed to create matter from thin air,
which is not physically possible.
No.
The science side of me was very upset about that.
It's not, but like that's why the villains are after it, because they want to create like all the jewels and the riches and things like that. But that's the idea, is she's like changing her own body by creating matter from air, which is, I guess I can understand how that works. Like, that's why she's always got her sword and stuff. But, you know, if I had that ability, I would, like, just make machine guns and, like, you know, a bunch of machetes or something from thin air and then go after the enemies. Like,
I wouldn't even do that. I would just make clones of myself and be like, all right, you go do that. Because they can't tell which one's the real me.
It's kind of that Deus Ex Machina, like, you know, device, but at the same time, it's not used as well as it could be.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know, if it was that easy, then there would be no show. So I guess we can't really fault them for that.
No. But, again, so the transformation for me is enjoyable in the sense of she does it a lot in the episode, so she's like constantly like adjusting her plans, which I feel like some shows like Sailor Moon at the beginning, she had
she has the plan. She uses
that can disguise herself.
She uses that occasionally, but it's not used near as frequently. Or I don't even know if she uses it any of the other seasons.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I like makes a return.
I like the idea that Cutie Honey's like always adjusting herself to the situation, even though at one point there's a joke in the episode where I think she's fighting on a train.
Yeah.
And she transforms where she's like, oh, I don't know which honey will you get? So she doesn't know what she's transforming into.
It just
she transforms into a flight attendant and she's like, oh, I guess you get this honey today to fight. So
Although I was a little surprised too, the fact that she changes into so many different kinds of honeys, because I thought it was just going to be those staple ones that we talked about: the flight attendant, the musician, the
Fashion
model, the camera woman, and then like the racer. But no, she does a lot of other ones. Like I think the one that was the funniest to me, where she becomes like a Tarzan honey, was like, what was it, like a jungle queen or something? The episode where they're on like an island. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. So, if anything, I would say just watch the show if only to see what interesting honeys you're gonna get, because they're all really
watch the interesting honeys and watch for the villains. The daily villain of the week.
They're
the daily villain.
They're really great. And if anything,
weird
just
ones.
watch for when Panther Zora shows up, because Panther Zora's character design is
she's weird.
She's got a panther on her head.
She does. I love it.
Oh, it's so funny.
Panther Claw. It's one of the best villain organizations in a magical girl anime.
Yeah, but for Cutie Honey, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Like, I want everyone to see this anime. I don't care that it was made in the 70s. I need everyone to see this.
I would say, watch a couple episodes. I don't know if it's worth seeing every single episode. Don't bother watching them all in order either, because it doesn't necessarily matter that much. I mean, I guess there's like in the middle of the season, like there's a few things that happen, but
I'd argue watch in order up until about 14 to 15, and then you can stop watching if you want.
Yeah, because nothing else really happens after that. It's pretty funny. If you like campy stuff, definitely give it a watch. If you like that groovy 70s vibe, give it a watch. If you like watching people get naked, give it a watch.
I guess if you want something a little bit more intense in your magical girl anime, there you go. Like that was a lot more intense than I was expecting.
But I think from the both of us, definitely we give it a rousing thumbs up.
Yeah, like
please watch it.
Between the other two that we talked about, this one I can definitely say, no, you need to watch this now.
And it's really easy to find too, so that's another bonus.
Go do it.
Have fun. Let's go watch. Go out there and watch some people changing air into matter on their naked bodies.
Yep.
Have fun.
ハニーハニーお手をどうぞ
いや
待ってこれこそうし
父上なんてこと
あれ
いや
我が祖国日本は近いぞ
That was pretty interesting, but I'm happy to move on.
Oh, but we're not moving on. We've barely scratched the surface.
Wait, what do you mean? I thought we were done. We talked about everything. We're finished. No more. I don't want to have to deal with any more people being...
Okay, if you do that one more time, I'm going to punch your face. And no, Cutie Honey had so many reimaginings, and I want to dive deeper. So settle down, buckle in, we're in this for the long haul.
No! I don't think I can take any more people being... Alright, that's it. Honey Flash!